Stray Souls is the worst game I have ever played. It's buggy in the most frustrating ways, the story is stupid, and I imagine if you bought a Silent Hill game on Wish, this is actually what you'd get. No, really, you want to see some bootleg Silent Hill? Watch this intro. I'm gonna take some audio from the Silent Hill demo PT and overlay it on top of Stray Souls' opening cutscene.
This brutal killing took place while the family was gathered at home on a Sunday afternoon. The day of the crime, the father went to the trunk of his car, retrieved the rifle, and shot his wife as she was cleaning up the kitchen after lunch. When his 10-year-old son came to investigate the commotion, the father shot him too. His 6-year-old daughter had the good sense to hide in the bathroom, but reports suggest he lured her out by telling her it was just a game. The girl was found shot once in the chest from point-blank range.
You see what I mean? Pretty similar, huh? I didn't change the order of events or anything. And it only gets more blatant from there. Let's take a look at more Stray Souls, shall we? 18 years later. The game begins and we meet our protagonist, Daniel. Daniel's estranged grandmother passed away recently and left her house to him. The house is a little creepy, but Daniel is still super excited to be getting a free house. But apparently even more exciting than that is online dating, because he talks about it every 5 seconds.
It's getting late. Nobody's gonna swipe right in me anyways. No girl is gonna date me with a house this messy. Huh, would you look at that? Guess someone liked what they saw. Online dating is so overrated.
Haha, wow, he's so relatable. Anyway, Daniel starts talking to this girl that messages him on the dating app and finds out she lives next door. The mysterious girl that definitely won't have some kind of plot twist as to who she is convinces Daniel to start looking around the house because apparently the grandma that lived there was a complete weirdo, and a lot of the doors in the house are locked. Daniel starts looking around through Grandma's things and finds weird stuff, like a calendar that has Grandmammy's death date marked down on it. Suspicious. In one of the locked rooms, we find some children's blocks that spell out a cryptic message welcoming Daniel to the house. Suspicious. That's when kooky old Granny decides to pay us a visit herself. Apparently, touching those blocks pissed Meemaw off because she keeps peeping around the corner at us now. With the game's sound design and environment, honestly, this could have been pretty scary, but it's just goofy. Like this scene, for example. This is supposed to be really, really scary, like high tension point in the game, but let's just watch. Okay, Grandma, let's get you back to bed. You're waddling around after hours again. Next up, we have everyone's favorite puzzle from Silent Hill, the piano with broken keys. Listen, if you're gonna rip off Silent Hill, rip off the good parts of it and not one of the most universally hated puzzles by the entire fan base. Daniel goes downstairs and trips balls about a light in the window for reasons that are unclear, and the girl he's chatting online with, Martha, shows up. They get in the car and go on a journey to unravel the mysteries of Daniel's weird grandmother. Martha drops the lore bomb on Daniel that she's actually his sister. She's also the little girl in the beginning of the game that gets shot by the naked, greasy, bald man. She somehow survived, though her brother Michael did not. But just wait, there's a little more to the twist if you're familiar at all with that radio broadcast from PT.
The mother, who he shot in the stomach, was pregnant at the time.
That's right, Daniel is the Norman Reedus funky fetus from PT. Except he survived. Martha, after the incident, went into foster care and Daniel was adopted by a family. Then the most unbelievable part of the plot emerges. We're supposed to believe that Martha, in her very early 20s, purchases the house next door to Grandma.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
She then gives us a golden holy handgun. No, I'm not kidding. And sends Daniel off into the forest, stating that she has to stay behind at the car for unspecified reasons. This forest section is deeply boring and frustrating, so I'm gonna gloss over most of it. But wow, boy, look at those Unreal 5 trees. That's pretty cool. We get our first taste of combat in the forest, and spoiler alert, it's not very good. Then there's a really frustrating, terribly designed, awful, hideous, actually made me almost quit this game stupid boss that's straight out of the Unreal Asset Store, literally. Anyway, this boss is frustrating because most of the fight is picking up ammo with a really, really slow animation while he jumps on top of you and there's nothing you can do about it. Watch as he hits me from 50 feet away. I'd like to take this opportunity to read a promotion for this game that advertised it as horror combat with Souls-like precision. No reason, just felt like saying that right now. We fight our way through a lot more enemies and finally arrive at a cemetery setting. Martha then reveals the reason why she had to stay back at the car. Place your bets. You're not gonna guess it. Did you guess she stayed at the car and left you to fight alone? To light fireworks? Literally, she just wanted Daniel to see the fireworks. This game is causing me psychic damage. Anyway, this whole area is just find the item, do the thing, solve a puzzle, move one room forward, blah, blah, blah. Except that it's really, really buggy. So, for example, there's a note that you find at some point, and you cannot progress unless you read this note. This note spawns a grave in the cemetery that you've already ran through that has a giant cross on it. So to be clear, I've already run through this area, and I know for sure that there was no grave with a giant cross on it. Then I made the mistake of clicking on the note while Martha was still on the phone with me. This caused the note to not trigger the progression, which means that the grave never spawned in. I was streaming this game on Twitch, and we ran around for like 40 minutes trying to figure out where in the hell to go. But we couldn't because there was nowhere to go. So I had to look up a walkthrough, found out that it was glitched, and then continued on from there. But I would have never found this out if walkthroughs didn't exist. I would have just given up. This kind of bug with quest progression happens a lot. I am not going to go over every single one. This is just an example to give you an idea of how this game plays. It is really, really frustrating. I genuinely do not understand how anyone ever beat this without a walkthrough, because you constantly have to check it to see where you have to reload because your quest bugged out. Anyway, a whole bunch more stupid shit later, you finally end up at an abandoned police station, where we meet our next super original monster. Oh, oops, wrong clip. Here's the correct one. If you'd like me to provide horror sound effects for your game, leave a comment below. Anyway, this whole section of the game is just a slog.
I don't need to worry about it right now.
Even Daniel can't be asked to care about this dead police officer in front of him.
As long as we stick together, we've got this.
I know.
Mere milliseconds after agreeing to stick together, Martha disappears to the other side of the police station where she encounters Grandma.
What the fuck do you want from me? What the fuck is going on? I need to get back to Daniel. Make sure he's okay.
Damn, her toes are wiggly. Holy shit, a cake is a lie reference in 2023.
This was a triumph.
After more cryptic puzzles and stupid monsters and a boss, we go to Silent Hill. I mean, Aspen Falls. Thank God this banner's here. I might have been confused. In my opinion, this foggy Silent Hill section of the game is honestly the least offensive. It's alright, I guess. Gas price jump scare. Whew, that one got me. $7.82 a gallon? Jesus Christ. A lot of the ammo boxes in this area are a little bugged out. Oh, hey, a Silent Hill 2 reference. Okay, that one's actually kind of cool. If you get into combat anywhere near a door, this happens. The monsters in this game literally cannot comprehend doors. So, here's a tip. If you're designing a game and you know that your AI has a hard time with doors, don't design a weird inside a garage fight like this, because this is pretty bad. Anyway, once you finally make your way out of the town, you head on over to the house where the shootings happened. Daniel and Martha are hoping to get some closure on their backstories here. There's a puzzle to get into the house, which is literally just locating the key. On the back of the house, you find this graffiti that tells you where the key is. Who would have written that? Oh, look, the greased up bald man that shot everybody is inside the house. It's not really ever fully explained, so no, I don't really know how he's there either. He starts telling his kids that he's sorry and it wasn't his fault and blah blah blah. Apparently, Grandma made him do it, with her evil witch powers.
All my life, I dreamt of meeting you. That someday you'd show up and answer all my questions. Make me feel less alone in the world. And now, fuck!
Wait, Daniel wanted his dad that murdered his entire family and mother while he was in his mother's belly to show up and hang out with him so he felt less alone in the world? What kind of writing is that? Dad hands over the seal of Metatron. Oh, wait, sorry, that's Silent Hill 3. Dad gives them a disc of some kind and tells them that they're under the house's curse now and that it will protect them. But much like every other plot point in this game, the seal means nothing because the millisecond it's talked about, Martha gets possessed.
You have no power here.
You have no power here.
The screen blacks out for a moment and it turns out possessed Martha killed Pops. That seal sure didn't protect him. Daniel is somehow teleported into his father's mind by going through a door in the house. Throughout the father's mind section, you're supposed to run through the darkness to these little lit scenes where stuff happens. And this part of the game, this little bit's narrative almost makes you feel something. Hearing these haunting things in the darkness that clearly tormented the father's thoughts, while running past the mountains and mountains of beer bottles he drank to numb those emotions it's such a good moment. Or it would have been if the game didn't decide to then immediately tell you that the reason he killed his whole family is because evil grandma convinced him that he found his kids annoying and apparently his wife's manager thinks that she's cute. So grandma just told him, hey, maybe that means that she's cheating on you. That's why he did all of this, because grandma said those two things. And then the game treats it like, oh yes, it's all grandma's fault. We're gonna go off on a PT tangent for a second because this is actually another plot point that was borrowed from PT. As you play through PT, you learn that the father character is being crushed by the overwhelming stress of the economy and unemployment. He feels inadequate as a father for not being able to support the people he loves, and it torments him. His mental state is declining rapidly as he drowns his emotions in booze when he learns that his wife is pregnant with her manager's baby. It is heavily implied that this happened because she had to make her manager happy as she couldn't afford to lose her job with her husband in the state that he's in. That's really messed up. All of this combined is what leads to him snapping. In a fit of rage and sorrow, he murders his family and then himself. Do you see how Stray Souls attempted to borrow from that, but completely missed the mark? It's a completely stripped down version of PT's plot. It's missing all of the layers and context. In Stray Souls, it just blames Grandma for everything. And it just tells us that Dad had problems. We're told this, not shown. Except for the one scene where we're passing by all of the alcohol that he's drank over the years. It really makes you consider the scale of the hurt and depression he's felt. It's a lot more effective than the rest of the game just being like, oh yeah, the dad had the struggles. Homecoming, Downpour, the Pachinko machines, Revelation, and Ascension. Oh god, Ascension. All of these things struggle from the same problem as Stray Souls, where they just don't understand what makes Silent Hill good. If you never have, go watch a playthrough of PT, listen to the story and take in everything that you're seeing visually and audibly, and then go play Stray Souls. Tell me which one made you feel something. I mean, actually, don't go play Stray Souls because it is a miserable experience. Maybe a slightly better suggestion would be go play Silent Hill Homecoming. I'm sorry if you do that. And then go play Silent Hill 2. Both games have really big twists at the end, but you tell me, which one had more emotional impact? In the case of Stray Souls, it's just so derivative. It's not even inspired at this point. It is a ripoff. Like, it's literally PT. If you want to play PT, play PT. That game is actually good. Oh, by the way, the guy that made Stray Souls is actually the guy that made PT emulation possible on PC, so that's interesting. He also decided to put it behind a paywall on his Patreon when PT was actually a free demo, so it's kind of weird to charge money for it, especially since he didn't create it, but you know, whatever. Oh, right. We still have this game's 3 endings to go over. So Martha, if you recall, got possessed and killed Dad and took off. We don't know where she is. We fight and kill Grandma's ghost, and then we fight this big crab demon. Which brings us to the final cutscene.
You're done. Where's Martha? Not until you tell me what you did with her. Oh yeah. And what purpose is that? Fuck you. I'll find Martha on my own.
Save Martha!
This is it, son. Last piece of the puzzle. All that's left is to close the door on your grandmother, locking her out of this world.
I don't understand.
Of course you understand. You've seen what happened. I tried to fight it. I wasn't strong enough. She took everything from me. Made me into this monster.
It's done. Neither of us can change the past. Ending it here won't solve anything.
I was weak. But you aren't. You can still end this and save your sister.
I don't know how to end this. I didn't even know you existed a few days ago, much less that you were alive.
Your grandmother's been using me to keep the doorway open. That's how she can influence this world. And now, I'm gonna close it for good.
Here you are presented with the game's 3 ending options. Whichever one choice you pick is what will give you your ending. So all of the other choices you made throughout the game literally don't affect it and are completely pointless. I don't want to play all of them, so I'll just describe 2 of them for you and play the dumbest one. If you pick Walk Away, Daniel edgily tells his dad to pay for his sins and walks away, and Dad unalives himself. This is considered the sad ending. If you take matters into your own hands, Daniel gets really mad at Dad, screams at him for a while, and then shoots him. This is considered the bad ending, and I don't really know why, because it's the only one that has any meaningful dialogue between Daniel and Dad about how he didn't have to murder everyone just because he was being influenced by Grandma. If you choose to save your father, this happens.
Just stop! I can't let you do this. You didn't deserve what happened to you. I know it was that old witch the whole time. She's ruined all our lives because of that stupid cult.
I don't deserve forgiveness.
Maybe you're right. But I know the truth, and so does Martha. Killing yourself isn't going to fix anything.
You're a better man than I ever was. Proud of you, son.
Rest easy, old man.
What in the hell was the whole point of going through all these endings to try to get Dad to not hang himself when he's already dead? So yeah, those are the endings. That's all you get. We don't really get much of a resolution. We don't find Martha.
Hold on, Marty. I'm on my way.
Oh my Christ, I hope that's not a setup for a sequel. That's Stray Souls. I was serious in the beginning when I said that for me, this really is the worst game I've ever personally played. There are little glimmers of interesting things here and there, but it's just too frustrating to play. And while I complained about the plot a lot, it's the gameplay that makes me hate it. If there was no story to this game at all, it would still be my worst game. There are games that technically play worse or are more buggy, but the way that this one specifically bugs out with progression just frustrated me like no game ever has before. The neutering of PT's storyline was just a little cherry on top. If you're gonna boil down a Silent Hill plot to its trauma and monsters, at least design your own monsters. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with games using pre-made assets, that's what they're there for, but for $30 and the fact that this game had the budget to get Akira Yamaoka to do the music, it just seems lazy, especially when you're treating the storyline of PT like an asset. The only thing they didn't take from PT was the whole grandma cult aspect and why grandma wants Daniel and is haunting him and stuff like that, but honestly, that just kind of seems like Hereditary. But we don't really know for sure because they never bothered to explain that plot. I could ramble on about Silent Hill or horror games literally all day, so I'm gonna stop myself now. I play a lot of bad games on this channel, and I plan on covering a lot more horror in the future as it's a really big passion of mine. If that sounds interesting to you, consider sticking around. And if you have any suggestions of games that are really good, or even maybe would be a contender for Stray Souls as my least favorite game of all time, maybe recommend them down below. Thanks for watching, and if you got this far, I appreciate you more than Stray Souls appreciates the plot of PT.
Eat 'em up, eat 'em up, eat 'em up, eat 'em up. Reese's Puffs, Reese's Puffs. Eat 'em up, eat 'em up, eat 'em up, eat 'em up. I got Reese's Puffs in my bowl. Now my niggas on lose control. I got Reese's Puffs in my bowl. Save Martha!